Hello and welcome to everyone. So today I'm going to be speaking to Listra about her health condition. And again, on this channel, we speak about so many different things. We talk about mainly some of the mental health issues that some of us face, and also we talk about on different ways on how we can manage these mental health issues, and also talk about having for someone having different illness that they have to deal with throughout their life and how they can actually manage. So today I'm going to be speaking to Ristra. And Listra, how are you doing today?
Welcome, Tilly. Thank you for having me here today, and I am doing fine.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. So today, uh, we're going to talk about SCAR3. So before I could even ask Ristra about what is SCAR3 about, I've never had anything as such before until I met Ristra, and then she started talking about it. And I really found it very useful to hear from her, especially if there is anyone out there who is having the same condition and they don't know how to manage it. So, Ristra, can you tell us a little bit about what is SCAR3? And I think it has another name that I'm not aware of. Please, can you please go through about what is this SCAR3 is all about?
Okay, I'll be happy to. Okay, so SCAR3 is a form of cerebellar ataxia. It is one of the spinocerebellar ataxia, which is the genetic form of ataxia, of cerebellar ataxia, because you can either inherit cerebellar ataxia or acquire it. But the spinocerebellar ataxia is genetic. And the number behind it says which gene is affected. So in my case, it's gene 3. But I think there are up to about 45 different genes that are affected in different people. But the similarity is that the cerebellar, which is the back of the brain, that's the part that's affected, and that basically affects your balance and your mobility and other things later on. But it starts with balance and mobility and your eye focus.
Wow. For people who are hearing about this, honestly, this is something new to me, and it's so amazing how all of us will function in a different way, and how all of us we are made, of course, in a different way. So, Ristra, when did you realize that you have this condition?
Okay, well, it was just at the age of 48, which was about almost 3 years ago, I found out that I had the condition, simply because my father and his mother actually had the condition, but I didn't link it to genetics until it affected me, and then I looked into it further. But in relation to the disorder, I didn't know it was genetic, and I've only found out afterwards. But it affects people. You just need one parent with the disorder to pass it on. It's not like ordinary genetic conditions whereby you need two parents to pass on genes. And with one parent, you might get a trait of it. But you just need one parent to pass on the entire disorder. So therefore, I acquired it from my father. And
Okay.
because it affects people, it affects adults. So from the age of 20 to the age of about 70, it can come on. So it affected me at the age of 48. That's when I got real symptoms.
Okay, so I know that this illness affect the way you speak, and also it affect the way you walk and everything. So when did everything started changing? Does it mean that before you turn 40, you've been functioning properly, walking without no problem, speaking with no issues? How did this change, started coming like, how did you notice that there is a massive change since your childhood at the age of 40?
Okay, so everything was going on as normal. I was working, I went to university, everything as normal. And at about 45, I noticed that my balance was going. But then everything restated itself. The doctor had put it down to laryngitis, labyrinthitis, or something like that. And then everything went back to normal. So I continued my life as usual, doing the things that I usually do. Then I went to Guernsey to work as a nurse. And if my eyesight started to be affected in that I couldn't, if I look on the side and I can see, my focus was going and I couldn't look up. That was about late in 2021, 2020, 20, yeah. And then I knew that something was different. But because you have to pay doctor in Guernsey to see a GP, you have to pay £50. I wasn't ready to part of that money. So I said, okay, when I get back to England, I will go to my GP and check it out. And when I came back to England, then I checked it out and I was diagnosed with glaucoma. But it appears that the pressure in the eye is related to cerebellar ataxia. They looked different. They looked like separate entities. But to me, they were connected. So I treated the glaucoma, and when it was sorted, I realized that this problem was still ongoing. I was still unsteady. I started to get some red painful spots on my feet, on my toes. Then I went to my GP, and the GP saw me walking, staggering to one side in favor of the other side. So she asked me about it. And I told her, well, it's been happening for a couple of weeks now or so, where I've been gearing towards the right side. She said, no, you're gearing towards the left side. And then she called me back and did all the blood tests, and even more blood tests than was regular, because we did erythromy tests and also things that is the immature red blood cells test for that and everything. So, and she was a locum GP, so she was only there temporarily at the surgery. So she only saw me on 2 occasions before she had to leave, but she tried to get all the tests in place. Then I went for MRI and all these things, and then they realized that my cerebellum, part of it was missing. So it was sort of getting hypertrophy, they call it, but it was shrinking. So then they connected. They didn't give me a diagnosis yet, but I knew what was happening because I started walking like a drunk person and couldn't keep my balance. So it was, and also the doctor found that my red blood cells were bigger than normal. They were alcoholic blood cells, and I don't drink alcohol. So
Wow.
I found that something was wrong. And then I put two and two together and thought that it was genetic. And then I started to read up on PSP, which is a form of the same cerebellum disorder. But I realized that cerebellar ataxia was the inherited one, the one inherited. PSP wasn't inherited. So therefore, I conclude that it was cerebellar ataxia. And then the neurologist, well, they did a test and they sent me for genetic testing. And that was confirmed after genetic testing that it was cerebellar ataxia, autosomal adult onset. Autosomal means one parent pass it on. And it occurred in adulthood.
Wow.
It's degenerative.
Wow.
So it gets worse as the years roll by. However, you can live 20-something years, 30-something years with it, depending on the onset, because the earlier the onset, then it is more aggressive and more progressive. So I'm hoping that because it affected me later in life, that it will be slower, the progress will be slower, because it can affect your memory and your brain. It can affect your, it can lead to diabetes and other physical conditions. It can cause your speech to be slurred. It can cause you to choke, as in December, it was causing me to choke. But I didn't know what was causing. Every time I drank water, it went down, a drop went down in the wrong part, and I had to cough. And actually, I had to get somebody hit my back in order to clear it. But
Wow.
I've learned to swallow better now. And I learned that, well, at the moment, my speech is okay. Probably because I take my time and speak, but it can be possibly going, but my handwriting has deteriorated considerably. I can't even write legible anymore. So this,
Wow. This is very it must be very difficult, but I don't I just want to I know that you've been going through this now for the past 3 years, as you mentioned, and I know it must be very difficult from being able to function all throughout your years, and now suddenly you're not functioning on the same level you used to function because of the condition. And I want to find out, how do you how often do you have to see for example a speech language therapist or a physio?
okay. So a speech and language therapist, I don't see any yet.
Okay.
I see a physio once a month because I've requested it from my GP. I've read up about the condition and know that a neurologist and a physiotherapist are important. So these are the two requests I've made so far for my GP. And he has or she has granted me. I'm not sure what gender my GP is.
Yeah. I mean, it's so beautiful to see a smile on your face, because normally people who you have certain condition that they are not curable, this tend to really have mental disturbance on how we feel, on how we see things, on how we communicate with the people around us, and on how we do things. I'm really happy and so grateful to have met you, and also to see a smile on your face. This is really so much inspiring personally for me, because sometimes we get even small things that can affect our mental health. And it's just something that is so simple that you can actually get rid of it in 1 day, or even in 1 second. But you realize some of us, this small things can affect us throughout our lives. But I'm so grateful that you are smiling, and you have, you are able to communicate, and you are able to open up and talk about this condition. This is really very impressive. And so for people who are out here, Listra, I don't want to really to exhaust you today, but really next time I would love you to talk through about how you manage this condition in terms of mental health. Because having a condition, that you need to deal with it, you must have these strategies. And I would love to find out actually, how do you manage every single day activities, and how do you actually control your emotions throughout the day, and for you to be having this beautiful smile. So for people who have got this condition, or maybe somebody who's got this particular condition, stay tuned, because on our next video we are going to talk about how someone like Listra, how she managed in her everyday life, and even hoping a bright future with her condition. And so if you really love learning more from Listra, stay tuned, because in our next video we are going to dive in how she managed to control everything around her. Thank you so much, Listra, for coming in today and talking about this condition. And thank you for everyone who is listening. And I really can't wait for our next episode, when we're going to find out how you control your mental health. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Stop the recording.